Good evening. Welcome once more to Inoffensive White Guy, reading aloud with a pipe. Last night, we began our journey into the fantastical world of Lewis Carroll's mind with the reading of the first 5 cantos of his 7-canto poem, Phantasmagoria. Tonight, we will finish that poem, and as a token of my appreciation for you choosing to join us here, yet again, I will also read to you one of Mr. Carroll's most beloved poems as a poemist, but that must remain a secret for now. First, let's return to Phantasmagoria. We begin this evening with Canto 5, Bickerment. Don't they consult the victims, though? I said. They should, by rights, give them a chance, because, you know, the tastes of people differ so, especially in sprites. The Phantom shook his head and smiled. Consult them not a bit. It would be a job to drive one wild, to satisfy one single child. There'd be no end to it. Of course you can't leave children free, said I, to pick and choose, but in the case of men like me, I think mine host might fairly be allowed to state his views. He said, it really wouldn't pay. Folk are so full of fancies we visit for a single day, and whether then we go or stay depends on circumstances. And though we don't consult mine host before the thing's arranged, still, if he often quits his post, or is not a well-mannered ghost, then you can have him changed. But if the host's a man like you, I mean a man of sense, and if the house is not too new, why, what has that, said I, to do with ghost's convenience? A new-built house does not suit, you know. It's such a job to trim it. But after 20 years or so, the wainscotings begin to go, as so 20 is the limit. To trim was not a phrase I could remember having heard. Perhaps, I said, you'll be so good as to tell me what is understood exactly by that word. It means the loosening all the doors, the ghost replied and laughed. It means the drilling holes by scores in all the skirting boards and floors to make a thorough draught. You'll sometimes find that 1 or 2 are all you really need to let the wind come whistling through, but here there'll be a lot to do, I faintly gasped. Indeed. If I'd been rather later, I'll be bound, I added, trying most unsuccessfully to smile. You'd have been busy all this while, trimming and beautifying. Why, no, said he. Perhaps I should have stayed another minute, but still no ghost that's any good without an introduction would have ventured to begin it. The proper thing, as you were late, was certainly to go, but with the roads in such a state, I got the night mayor's leave to wait for half an hour or so. Who's the night mayor? I cried, instead of answering my question. Well, if you don't know that, he said, either you never go to bed or you've a grand digestion. He goes about and sits on folks that eat too much at night. His duties are to pinch and poke and squeeze them till they nearly choke. I said it serves them right. And folk that sup on things like these, he muttered, eggs and bacon, lobster and duck, and toasted cheese, if they don't get an awful squeeze, I'm very much mistaken. He is immensely fat, and so well suits the occupation. In point of fact, if you must know, we used to call him years ago the mayor and corporation. The day he was elected mayor, I know that every sprite meant to vote for me, but did not dare, he was so frantic with despair and furious with excitement. When it was over, for a whim, he ran to tell the king, and being the reverse of slim, a 2-mile trot was not for him, a very easy thing. So to reward him for his run, as it was baking hot and he was over 20 stone, the king proceeded, half in fun, to knight him on the spot. It was a great liberty to take. I fired up like a rocket. He did it just for punning's sake, the man, says Johnson, that would make a pun, would pick a pocket. A man, said he, is not a king. I argued for a while, and did my best to prove the thing. The Phantom merely listened with a contemptuous smile. At last, when breath and patience spent, I had recourse to smoking, Your aim, he said, is excellent, but when you call it argument, of course you're only joking. Stung by this cold and snaky eye, I roused myself at length to say, "At least I do defy the veriest skeptic to deny the union is strength." "That's true enough," said he, "yet stay." I listened in all meekness. "Union is strength, I'm bound to say. In fact, the thing's as clear as day, but onions are a weakness." Move on now. Cantos VI. Discomfiture. As one who strives a hill to climb, who never climbed before, who finds it in a little time grow every moment less sublime, and votes the thing a bore, yet having once begun to try, dares not desert his quest, but climbing ever keeps his eye on one small hut against the sky, wherein he hopes to rest. Who climbs till nerve and force are spent, with many a puff and pant, who still, as rises the ascent, in language grows more violent, although in breath more scant. Who, climbing, gains at length the place that crowns the upward track, and entering with unsteady pace, receives a buffet in the face that lands him on his back, and feels himself, like one in sleep, glide swiftly down again, a helpless weight from steep to steep, till, with a headlong giddy sweep, he drops upon the plain. So I, that had resolved to bring conviction to a ghost, and found it quite a different thing from any human arguing, yet dared not quit my post. But, keeping still the end in view to which I hoped to come, I strove to prove the matter true by putting everything I knew into one axiom. Commencing every single phrase with therefore, because, I blindly reeled 100 ways about this syllogistic maze, unconscious where I was. Quoth he, "That's regular claptrap. Don't bluster any more. Now do be cool and take a nap. Such a ridiculous old chap was never seen before. You're like a man I used to meet who got one day so furious in arguing the simple heat scorched both his slippers off his feet." I said, "That's very curious." "Well, it is curious, I agree, and sounds perhaps like fibs, but still it's true as true can be, as sure as your name's Tibbs," said he. I said, "My name's not Tibbs." "Not Tibbs?" he cried. His tone became a shade or two less hearty. "Why, no," I said, "my proper name is Tibbets. Tibbets. I the same. Then you're not the party." With that he struck the board a blow that shivered half the glasses. "Why couldn't you have told me so 3/4 of an hour ago, you prince of all the asses? To walk 4 miles through mud and rain, to spend the night in smoking, and then to find that it's all in vain, and I've to do it all again. It's really too provoking." "Don't talk," he cried, as I began to mutter some excuse. "Who can have patience with a man that's got no more discretion than an idiotic goose? To keep me waiting here, instead of telling me at once that this was not the house," he said. "There, that'll do. Be off to bed. Don't gape like that, you dunce." "It's very fine to throw the blame on me in such a fashion. Why didn't you inquire my name the very minute that you came?" I answered in a passion. "Of course it worries you a bit to come so far on foot, but how was I to blame for it?" "Well, well," said he, "I must admit that isn't badly put. And certainly you've given me the best of wine and victual. Excuse my violence," said he, "but accidents like this, you see, they put one out a little. 'Twas my fault after all, I find. Shake hands, old turnip-top." The name was hardly to my mind, but as no doubt he meant it kind, I let the matter drop. "Good night, old turnip-top, good night. When I am gone, perhaps they'll send you some inferior sprite, who will keep you in a constant fright and spoil your soundest naps. Tell him you'll stand no sort of trick. Then, if he leers and chuckles, you just be handy with the stick. Mind that it's pretty hard and thick, and rap him on the knuckles. Then carelessly remark, old coon, perhaps you're not aware that if you don't behave, you'll soon be chuckling to another tune, and so you'd best take care. That's the right way to cure a sprite of such like goings-on, but gracious me, it's getting light. Good night, old turnip-top, good night." A nod, and he was gone. I will continue Cantos VII. Sad Souvenance. "What's this?" I pondered. "Have I slept? Or can I have been drinking?" But soon a gentler feeling crept upon me. I sat and wept an hour or so, like winking. No need for Bones to hurry so, I sobbed. In fact, I doubt if it was worth his while to go. And who was Tibbs, I'd like to know, to make such work about? If Tibbs is anything like me, it's possible, I said. He won't be over-pleased to be dropped in upon at 3:30 after he's snug in bed. And if Bones plagues him anyhow, squeaking all the rest of it, as he was doing here just now, I prophesy there'll be a row, and I and Tibbs will have the best of it. Then, as my tears could never bring back the friendly phantom back, it seemed to me the proper thing to mix another glass and sing the following coronach. And art thou gone, beloved ghost, best of familiars? Nay, then, farewell, my duckling roast. Farewell, farewell, my tea and toast, my meerschaum and cigars. The hues of life are dull and gray, the sweets of life insipid, when thou, my charmer, art away, old brick, or rather let me say, old parallelepiped. Instead of singing verse the third, I ceased, abruptly rather, but after such a splendid word, I felt that it would be absurd to try it any farther. So with a yawn, I went my way to seek the welcome downy, and slept, and dreamt till break of day of poltergeist and fetch and fay, and leprechaun and brownie. For years I've not been visited by any kind of sprite, yet still they echo in my head those parting words so kindly said, "Old turnip top, good night." This concludes the poem Phantasmagoria. Now we will move on to a portion of the well-known work Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There. This is the poem Jabberwocky. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave, all mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outbrave. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood awhile and thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tolly wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He leapt it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy, O frabjous day, Callooh, Callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave, all mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome rains outgrave. This will conclude this episode of Inoffensive White Guy, reading aloud with a pipe. Thank you again for joining me, and have a pleasant evening.